Welcome to the Hymns of Liberation Garth Hewitt tour and the concert here at Carver tonight. And Garth is kicking off our celebrations for us.
We try God's revolution of love. We're trying to live by God's revolution of love. Give it a try.
Trying to live by God's revolution of love. We're trying to live by God's revolution of love. By doing to others what we...
The iconic landscape of the lakes has always been seen as food for the soul. Here you'll find mountains and lakes, but also the beating heart of welcome, deepening spirituality and practical training that is the Windermere Centre. People are gathering to celebrate 25 years of vision and hard work. But to make a dream come true is no easy task, especially when you had that dream in a bath. Stephen Thornton, tell us your story with regard to the Windermere Centre.
My father and his friends used to love the Lake District, and so eventually the family bought a hut in Staveley near Kendal. So we had our summer holidays here, and we would come to the church on a Sunday, which was well, a bit old-fashioned, and of course I knew that this was the manse, and of course it was, in those days it was inhabited by a retired minister. But I thought, well, this is a place for youth and for life, and not a place to go to sleep.
Sing to him one more step along the world I go. Round the corner of the world I turn, more and more about the world I learn. All the new things that I see, you'll be looking at. My wife, who is the wisdom and fount of all knowledge, said we should give them a plan. So go ahead, give it a plan.
And we're thankful to God that two such people have been able to set the tone for the centre over these last 25 years. Thank you both.
I came up to Peter and said, Peter, we've seen cockroaches in the kitchen. Well, Peter didn't know at the time, but he was known as Panicky Pete. He went rushing off into the kitchen. Where?
I wanted to find out what happens when a young minister with a vision is called to a congregation which believes it's time for a change.
To cut a long story short, the district council gave me permission to come here for 2 years, get it out of my system and move on. So I moved with my family up here and lived in this was the manse, lived in the manse and tried to persuade first the local church, then the district council, then the synod, and then the General Assembly that this was a good idea.
Despite what happened this afternoon.
But it was not always plain sailing.
Of training, they could only ever think of training ministers.
For all that you've done and all that you've done tonight, it's been great.
Surely such a radical idea was going to meet opposition.
Well, stop wasting our time, Stephen, because it's not going to happen. And if we wanted a training centre, it would be in London. So the main objection really was no understanding of training the whole people of God.
25.
25. 25.
25?
25. 25.
25? Well, Stephen had the vision, and then it was a question of how do you put the vision into. And for that, my predecessor, Graham Cook, came on board.
I came here in '85, and at that point, Stephen and his family were living in the manse. Another family was living in the manse, and another third of it was let out as a holiday let.
Stephen, this is remarkable. Here we have a photograph of you 25, 26 years ago, standing in this very spot, looking out the window at that scene. And here you are now. Can you tell me, I've heard a story, something about a bath in this beginning of this centre?
Indeed. So I was in this bath in the college in Manchester and dreamt up this idea of transforming this building in Windermere into a training centre for the whole people of God. So it was in the bath in Manchester, and well, 25 years later, Jill, my daughter, gave me a card to celebrate the day of the opening, and it said on it, "Please Daddy, don't have any more baths." And by that she meant, well, it had cost her and her mum and her brother a lot to come and live here, and she said, "Please Daddy, don't have any more baths because I don't want to go through all that again. It's just been too much trauma."
If this place was dreamed of in a bath, it went on to be born as a challenge. And today it leads the church in asking the difficult questions. I wanted to ask, where will this centre be in 10 years' time? Tell me this, Lawrence. If you had a magic wand to wave, what would you hope for? What would you pray for the centre to be in 10 years' time?
I want to see the centre at the heart of the life of the United Reformed Church. I'd like to see it full. I'd like to see it as a place where people know that they can come and actively look forward to coming, in much the same way that, you know, people look forward to going to Iona. They know that when they go there, it's going to be a place where they're going to be changed, because it's where they encounter God, it's where they grow in their faith, it's where they're challenged, it's where they go away and come back different.
Hearing again the original vision of the centre, it makes me realise that that vision is still very much alive.
I'd like to see us using the centre as much as possible, using the opportunities we now have of having multiple courses running at one time. And I think that will be the way that we'll get more and more people in.
So it needs to continue to be a place of debate and dialogue and discussion, as well as a home for all sorts of ideas and activities.
In Lawrence, as the director, we've got one of the finest theologians in the denomination at this moment.
Is making connections with people outside of our present circle. That we're drawing people in, and people are discovering a vibrancy in their own faith in following Jesus Christ.